Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, July 20, 2026. At this time, I would ask that everybody present please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batkins?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Mr. Olgiati?
Here.
Ms. Raveau?
Here.
Mr. Tominello is asked to be excused. Mr. Witt here. Mr. Verkust?
Here. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes approval of the regular board meeting minutes of July 6, 2026, approval of the workshop minutes from July 6, 2026, approval of the Lance Cruz High School homecoming parade route, and approval of the bills in the amount of $2,935,638.02. Unless there are any changes, I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Badkins with support by Ms. Raveau to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. Board members, prior to the meeting, there was some discussion about adding item E3 regarding some costs associated with scanning. So I would propose that we approve the regular agenda with the addition of item E3. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Is there support?
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Mr. Witt to approve the agenda as presented with the addition of item E3. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is item C, Supervisor and Board announcements. I do have some announcements. First, we are happy to report that the Macomb County Sheriff's Office has officially added bike patrol officers for the bike paths here in our township. We're starting to see more and more e-bikes, and the term e-bike's kind of generic. Some of them are really motorcycles, frankly, and they don't belong on bike paths. They go a lot faster than traditional bicycles, and some of it's education, but some of it's enforcement. Our Beautification Commission is hosting their annual Inspirations Garden Tour this Saturday, July 25th, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. You can stop by the township offices and purchase your ticket before Friday, July 24th, and the ticket is $5 cheaper. This tour includes several properties in Harrison Township with very, very nice gardens. So if you're a gardener, this is a good thing to do. If you have any questions, you can call the Beautification Commission, 586-242-3868. Also, a reminder that with the election around the corner, some township locations, like the Tucker Senior Center, for example, may have modified hours affected by the elections. You can contact our clerk's office or the Tucker Senior Center or locations for a list of affected dates. For more information on these, as well as all other township events, you can call the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445. Visit our website at www.harrisontownshipmi.gov. At this time, I would invite up our county commissioner, Ms. Barb Zinner, to address the board on an update of county events.
Hi, thank you very much. We're just getting started. I had brought up before that we have a lot of old buildings in the county, so there was a meeting today. We have more meetings this week, and the F&O, Facilities and Operations, was giving us explanations on some they're starting with, and yes, there's problems. Well, we knew there were problems, and so he's getting specific in what he's going to start first and what he's going to be working on, and And they're just, they're old, they haven't been taken care of as much as they should have been, so they're just things that have to be done. We know all the buildings, everything has to be taken care of. So that was really the big thing for today. And there were other things too, but that was really the most costly, I think. There are a couple things that I'd like to make mention of if I can. With the smoke, I know the smoke is a lot better now with the fire from Canada, but one of my sisters has been a nurse practitioner for many years, and I really wasn't paying attention to it. I did have a little trouble with my lungs for a few days, and she said, "Don't you have a mask on?" And I said, "I'm thinking COVID." No, I didn't wear masks in COVID. And I was just a little irritated with that part of it. But she said, there's particles. And they keep saying that. Every so often you'll have somebody on television say that. And she said, well, if you're out for any length of time at all, you have to put a mask on. And once I put on just a simple mask, because that's what I have in my closet, I found a big difference for myself. And maybe not everybody needs it, but don't realize they're still saying that there's particles in the air, even when it doesn't look bad, because we saw bad. And she said, especially for children, we have to think of children, because if that stuff goes in their lungs when they're young, is that of concern? This is a parental choice. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but it's something to think about, because you do hear it on some TV channels and some doctors that are talking about it on the news, but you don't hear it as often as you might think, because we're in better air weather now, but it's still there. I wanted to bring up the school millage. I haven't seen it ever in Harrison Township for 20 years. I think it's usually around 5 years. And I believe there's a lower amount of children. So I'm questioning why they went to 20 years when it's usually such a lower amount of years when we have declining enrollment. We don't even know in 5 or 10 years how many children are going to be in the school district. That's a point that I feel is concerning. And some people I've mentioned to hadn't even read the information yet. They just assumed it's going to be as usual. I just want people to be sure that they're aware when they go to vote. Can I say one more thing that I think is of great concern? Thank you. I was at a baby shower a few months ago, and I was sitting at a table with several teachers, and they were talking about teacher stuff and what they were going to do this and that, and I had children in different age groups, 3 different age groups. I thought I was never going to get out of grade school for many, many years, which was all good. But so I knew a lot about classes and teachers and all that, because it wasn't just 1 or 2 kids and then I'm out. And what they were saying, I had questions about it, and I said, so what are you talking about? To the lady to my right and to the lady to the left. And I said, why are you saying these things? Not to be mean, just because I had a question. And these other teachers kind of put their head down, and this wonderful lady to my left just looked at me and said, just pulled out the bullhorn. I'm so glad she did, because she just looked at me and just said, parents are not parenting. And she didn't say it that quiet and that nice. So she was real serious about it. I would say it the way she did, but I might break your microphone. And I don't blame her. And I said, so what do you mean by that? And so then the teachers started looking at me and telling me. People tell me all kinds of stuff. I don't know what it is. So they started telling me about the room, and they said, so then with what they told me, I'm going to put it all together. So then I went to a graduation party with some people. There were 2 teachers there, one 40 years teaching, one 15 years teaching. And so when we pull it all together, these teachers at the first event that I was at said the real problem is that there are 4 kids in every class Now, I don't think every class in every school has this. I know they don't, but we got a rating of 46 in Michigan out of 50 states. It might as well be 50. And these women said to me, they've got 4 kids in every class that are completely unruly. Completely. In every area that a person or a child could be unruly to the nth. And they're explaining specifically, just go with your mind as far as you can go. I'm not going to go into it. And I said, well, how do the other children do with this? And they said, we do as much as we can, which is all they can do is send the child to the principal's office, and then the child comes back. Where are the old days? Could we have an old day? But there are no an old days. And I said, so how do the other children, how do you teach them? And they said, we're lucky to get through. And this will break your heart if you don't know it. They're lucky to get through, and they can't even get through one lesson plan in a day. They can't get through one lesson plan in a day. Well, now, because I've been looking for what is the problem here? Because it has to be, well, that's it. So the other 2 teachers for different districts, these 3 districts are completely unrelated physically. They're not close or nothing. And I said to them, I thought the one teacher was going to punch me in the face at first, until she didn't. And I said, is it true that you have 4 kids in your class that completely disrupt the class all day long? And they both looked at me and said, yes. And I said, is it true that you can't even get through one lesson plan in a day? And they both said, yes. 40 years and 10 years of teaching, those 2 women. So I mentioned this to my friend, and she said, you have to go to the school districts. And I said, why? They're the ones in charge. Why would I even go? So, as Christians, we have a responsibility to educate these children and care for these children. We're answerable to the Lord God. I don't know exactly how to get this done, but we have to. We have to find a way to get this done, because these school boards are out of their minds. There's no, in most of these places, there's not decent principals to take care. I think they're not supposed to. I think there are some good principals. I've heard of them. And I know the teachers are handcuffed. Literally. So, I'm just saying to you, we have the responsibility as Christians to find a way. And we might need social workers, we might need everything. But I'm asking you, and I'm begging you, and I'm going to go to Shores, and I'm going to go to the county, and I'm going to go to these school boards, and that's my plea. And maybe the Holy Spirit will lead us to do what has to be done, because it has to be done. And I asked it to help.
Yep.
Well, that and for them. And it will be our future in the future. You are absolutely right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Board members, any other announcements?
Just, I do want to remind anyone that happens to be watching prior to the election, we are starting early voting this Saturday, July 25th, here in Rosso Hall. It'll be running through Monday, August 3rd, from 8 a.m. until 4 o'clock p.m. every single one of those days. Absentee ballots have to be returned by 8 o'clock on Election Day. At this point, we're about a little over 2 weeks away from the election. I would not trust the post office with my ballot at this point in time. The delays in delivery are a little bit longer than I would care for, so we do have, you can drop it off at the clerk's office, and then we do have the drop boxes both at the clerk's office as well as the Tucker Senior Center for your absentee ballot.
Any other announcements?
We have a concert in the park coming up and I'm trying to pull the info up on my phone, and of course, the internet is being slow, but it is going to be next Thursday, July 30th at 6 o'clock at Miller Park. And the name of the band I can't pull up at this very moment, but it is on our website and on the sign at, right next to McDonald's. And check it out if you get a chance.
I heard it was Led Zeppelin.
Oh, here, it just popped up. It's
I don't wanna
Motor
start any
City
rumors.
Wranglers, July 30th, 6 o'clock at Don and Candace Miller Park.
All right.
Hopefully, we will see you there. Motor City Wranglers? No, it's more, I'm trying to remember because I watched a lot of bands before we picked. It's more rock. Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other announcements? Hearing none, we'll move forward in the agenda to item D1, I believe, regarding our data backup system. Board members, our township data and application backup device, which was purchased new in July of 2021, has reached the end of its warranty period, and now it has limited support. Purchasing a new Sirius S6-19 device has been proposed by our IT provider. It will have a new 5-year hardware warranty with full support. It's faster, and it uses better compression of data for quicker off-site retention. In the past, our backup device has allowed us to restore within minutes deleted files, deleted folders, deleted emails, and in one case, a whole server. There's some statistics listed in the board packet. An example of the value of this device, our current backup device allowed us to rebuild the entire MCM water server after it was decommissioned by Mueller Water Products. Rebuilding this server was needed to provide more than a decade of historical information that was used by the water department. They still use this recovered server today for historical information and schedules. The new backup device is 150% faster backups, about 30% faster VM boot times. Currently, we're backing up BSA, our Mail, our X-Drive, and our SCADA. There's a whole list of various data systems that are backed up. In addition to the device itself, the infinite cloud retention annual payment must also be removed. This annual
Renewed.
payment, approved. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, you said removed, and I just wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. This annual payment was approved in 2021 at the rate of $20,985. The new annual payment for the next 5 years, $21,948, so really not a big increase, $963, but it's locked in for 5 years. So what we're proposing, $31,371 for the purchase of this SIRIS S618 data and application backup device, and as well as the first of the 5 annual payments, as well as a total of 4 more annual payments for the cloud retention software.
So moved.
All right.
Support.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of those things, like, this is a necessary cost of
Having
handling
technology.
large amounts of data. And unfortunately, because, I mean, just in Michigan, 1,240 townships, as a township, we're sort of viewed as a vulnerable entity because so many of our peer communities are such small or rural municipalities that they just don't have the ability to have this kind of a backup system, and so they're very, very vulnerable to ransomware and so forth. So this is just one of those costs of us doing business. Any discussion about the replacement of a data backup system? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is item D2 regarding ordering and configuring 2 field-capable laptop computers for electrical and mechanical building inspectors. The request to purchase these 2 field-capable computers that utilize a 5G modem and connect our inspectors to BSNA, along with access to all township data permits and building permits. other inspectors currently utilize these field laptops, and they've been a huge asset and time saver in the field. We're talking about the ability on site when someone says, oh, I already did X, or I've already taken care of this issue, to be able to pull it up and say, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, or no, you haven't. I mean, we have the technology to do this. What we've experienced is that when I say employees, let's say our full-time employees have been utilizing this technology. Historically, our electrical and mechanical inspectors have been part-time employees, retired employees, folks who are saying, hey, for example, we had a very retiree from Harrison Township who said, I'll come back for, 12, 16, 18 hours a week. But, we're talking about someone from a generation where they were comfortable with what they did. And since then, we've had some younger folks that are a little more tech savvy. So we don't have enough volume to be able to have these people as full-time, but we have seen maybe some rollover. I don't know what the term I'm looking for is. And so we've got some folks that are probably ready to utilize this technology in the field. And so we're basically asking to bring up two of our inspectors to have the same technology as our other full-time inspectors. So we're looking at a cost of a little over $7,212.42. Discussion, or is there a motion?
Just a question real quick. Are these computers, are they left in the building? Are they issued to the inspectors to take home with them, or how did?
Both. So you give it, no, yeah, they're not taking them home for the weekend, but they're taking them in the field.
Okay.
Right? So these are both electrical and mechanical is part-time inspections.
Right.
So there's, maybe 2.5 days a week where they would be in service. When they're not being used, they're literally sitting at a dock at the desk.
Yeah, just kind of curious.
Yep.
And we just approved something like this not too long ago.
For the other inspectors.
Yeah.
Well, and we also approved like really
The
chintzy
were they
laptops.
tablets,
They were like
right, that they were
$100
bringing out?
refurbished things.
Okay,
And they didn't work in practice.
okay,
And so they were cheap, so they didn't have a high brightness on the screen, so they couldn't see them.
Okay.
And then it was unreliable connections. It was a good attempt. It was worthwhile to try for the cost, because I had the same
yeah.
question.
So now we're moving to more of a laptop situation.
Higher quality.
for
Better
them to be
data,
able-
yeah, quicker, more, probably better suited for field work.
And a little more lifespan on them than a
Yep.
Great.
5-year-old refurbished.
But this is one of those things where you're saying, can we try this? Well, is
Yeah.
this sufficient? Does this work? And I'd rather go with kind of option B. And if it doesn't work, maybe we've got to step up to option A.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably option A for two inspectors. Any other discussion, or is there a motion to approve the purchase of these two?
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of two Surface Pro laptop computers at a cost of $7,212.42.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Mr. Brado. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is item D3 regarding the Treasurer's Office Account Bookkeeper. Board member, our current account bookkeeper's last day is July 31st. We have received applications from several good candidates based on looking at the applications, of course, for a replacement. We're beginning interviews tomorrow. The board is not meeting again until August 10th, and the treasurer's office is asking that for authorization to make a selection for the vacancy and notify the applicant no later than Friday, July 24th. I think in essence what we're asking for here is we go through the interview process. We've been doing this. Various people have been on the board at various times. In my almost 16 years as supervisor, I've never had the board disagree with the decision of the three full-timers. Whatever office, whatever position we're interviewing for, we typically include people from that office in the interview process. So for example, three full-timers sit in on all the interviews, but if it was for a clerical position in the fire department, then we would have the chief in. And, It's typically a kind of a team decision, recognizing that no matter who we hire, there's a 90 working day probationary period. So you make your best selection, and then I hate to say roll the dice, but sometimes the people oftentimes they turn out to be exactly who they represent themselves to be. But really, the second part of that hiring process is really that 90-day, which is about 5 working months, to see, are they showing up? Are they good? Do they fit in, with others? And we have that opportunity. Historically, if we don't believe that the decision was a good decision, it's going to be a joint decision. So, it's almost like a trial run. And so, in essence, because we moved the July meetings back a week, Mr. Tominello just asked that we might agree to move forward with the hiring. This board would authorize the 3 full-timers if we're all on the same, clearly, if we don't agree, we're not moving forward. But I don't know that this motion said that, but I feel like it would be fair to include that it would, based on a unanimous decision, because clearly if there's some problem, we would want to bring it back to the board.
And especially when we're interviewing clerical staff, these are people that have a chance of working through different departments, through bumps and that kind of stuff, and that's why, as a team, we try and say like, yeah, that might be great, for that, but we're worried if they move over here, just like looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's truly a team decision, and our history has shown that we've been pretty successful with this. We really haven't had a lot of discord amongst the 3 full-timers. So really, because of the timing and because of, the interview process and frankly, even really a third factor that Mr. Tominello didn't include in here was the fact that sometimes we go through that interview process and we say, well, Mrs. Smith is probably our number 1 choice. So we make an offer to Mrs. Smith. Her employer says, well, I don't want to lose you. So pretty soon she calls back and says, they gave me a $3 an hour raise. I'm not moving. So now you got to go to plan B. And so these things all take a little bit of time. And so really we're just asking for the board to entrust the 3 full-timers to move forward. I'm seeing with a recommendation to come back at the 10th.
It's basically bringing the name back for confirmation.
Correct, and I don't agree with the motion. This is not my agenda item, but basically giving us the authority to move forward, make that decision, make the offer, get that person, and then, probably.
Realistically, they're not gonna have started by the 10th, but we're able to get that ball rolling. We're doing interviews through the 29th. If somebody if we decide on the 29th, call on the 30th, and somebody gives 2 weeks, thinks it over, talks to their spouse for a while, you know what I mean? Like, these things end up dragging a little sometimes.
But we don't want to delay it. And you may recall that we did approve some additional hours for the retiring individual. So we got a little bit of cushion. We just don't want to push it past that. So any discussion, questions, or is there a motion to authorize the 3 full-timers to make this decision?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right.
What is the motion?
The motion is to authorize the 3 full-timers to hire the treasury account bookkeeper with a name to come back to the board. Oftentimes, this is one of those things, we just send an email out, say, we made this decision, once we confirm that person has done it. Because truly, again, at first step, that decision to offer somebody something and give them a start really is not the final say. The reality is, because it's a union position, making the decision to keep that person beyond probation is truly the decision. And frankly, and I remember this as a trustee, I really didn't have an opinion about the person we hired 5 months ago and whether we should keep them. I knew their name only. There's certain things that just the board entrusts to the full-timers to execute. So, that makes,
Yes, sir.
Yep, okay. We got a motion by Mr. Brada with support by Ms. Rabot to authorize the 3 full-timers to hire for this position. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Next, item E1, regarding circuit court action. Board members, the building at 35922 Jefferson was damaged by a fire last year. I'll pause here to make sure, just for a matter of context, We're talking about a white two-story block building that's just south of the spillway on the lake side of Jefferson. So if you kind of have an image, Kent Sale is probably the building that's closer. There's some apartments there, Kent Sale, and then this building sits in front of the trailer park that's behind it. And that was the building that was engaged in the fire. The building has not been renovated. It is in a state of disrepair. The building official has tried to work with the owner, but despite numerous meetings and agreements, multiple agreements and promises have not been kept. The recommendation is to authorize the supervisor to file this case in circuit court. The estimate of cost is not to exceed $5,000, and if there is a judgment to demolish the building, the building official went out and just got a quick estimate from one of them, probably one of the folks that has done, a few different demolitions for us, and they threw a rough estimate of $35,000. So clearly, if we're going into circuit court, part of circuit court action is to sort of, turn up the heat, you might say, right? Sort of say, hey, listen, we've tried to discuss, but we're not getting where we need to be, so let's take it to the next step. So if we move into circuit court, I'm not saying that we're going to get to demolition, but clearly, if someone wanted to play hardball, we could find ourselves there. So this could lead to that. So that's kind of a reference cost. If the owner meets the timeline that he has proposed, we won't file in circuit court. But based on the history of talking about this and the lack of fulfillment of various obligations, I truly believe we are likely to end up in circuit court with this case in order to get a resolution. That resolution may be fixing the building. That resolution could be demolition. It could be the owner demolishing the building because they don't want to have us do it. But I believe we're at the point where we need to get into circuit court on this.
We would recoup all of it.
Yeah, so recoup is a strong word. We would definitely lean, but
This one would probably be a slower burn than some of our single-family homes because it's tied to a larger parcel of property that wouldn't be immediately in danger of tax foreclosure, I would think.
That was my second question. I was wondering how big of a piece of property is.
this is a single parcel, which includes a multi-unit trailer park behind it. There's a lot of activity going on with that property. So I would definitely say if we move forward and demolition was a part of this, we'd obviously solicit quotes. And if we led to demolition, we would lien the property. I do believe overall, as a parcel, the value of that property, let's say we spent $5,000 in court, we spent $35,000 in demo. That property is definitely worth more than $40,000. But our ability to recoup that requires a sale, requires some activity. So I'm comfortable in overall value of the property, but I would say it would lead to a lien. There was a time that this board did some demolition prior to the bubble bursting on real estate, and people were walking away, leaving their keys on the counter,
And in the end,
I think the risk is very low, I'll say that.
I just want to, and sometimes you lose money on ordinance enforcement. This is a building that burned, and we can't just be like, yeah, meh, right? Like, there's an obligation.
There's no doubt it's blatant.
Yeah.
Correct. And this is a strategy, if we do lead a demolition, this board will have the opportunity to consider that decision at a future board meeting. But really what we're talking about today is saying, let's make it clear to this property owner that we're certainly still willing to talk, but based on our history, we don't have a whole lot of faith in, and again, Rosemary happens to be here because we switched our schedule, but Rosemary's been a part of this, and I don't know if you have anything to add, but this is kind of the next step.
It is.
Yeah.
It's, sometimes it's, people, for whatever, maybe financial reasons or whatnot, drag their feet a little bit in coming to the table and getting the job done. But this would, make it clear to this property owner that we mean business. And another thing too about, the demolition, a lot of times too, which we've done in the past, is if we enter into a judgment or the court orders one, they give the property owner an opportunity to pull that demolition permit on their own, do it. If they don't or fail to do so, then we have the authority to do so.
Yeah.
So,
So this isn't new. This case isn't new, and this concept isn't new. But this is a little bit different than a typical single-family home.
correct.
So, all right, further discussion, or is there a motion to authorize this circuit court action?
I'll make that motion to authorize the supervisor to pursue demolition authorization.
All right.
Circuit court.
And again, just as a point, well, I'll ask, is there support?
Support.
All right. A motion by Mr. Oljaz, support by Mr. Batkins. And again, we say this because we're not filing this case tomorrow, right? We're going to direct the attorney and the building official to communicate to this person, and with complete hopes that they say, oh, wow, I guess you mean business. Okay, here's the next step. Here's me satisfying what you've asked for. But up till now, we haven't met those timelines. So let's
So
hope that
what-
we don't do that.
Can we put a timeline on this?
We don't typically do so because we want to, we don't want to say, we certainly don't want to say to the property owner, if you can delay us for 6 months, then we're not going to circuit.
I'm talking about 2 weeks or 30 days.
Yeah, that
Sounds like we've been messing with this for a year,
Yeah,
and we should never let anybody off the hook when we get to this point.
no, understood.
So-
But again, to your point, Mr. Badkins, that isn't, let me just say this isn't Ken saying, all right, let's move forward or not. This is the supervisor listening to the attorney and the building official saying, you guys are on the same page, you want to move forward, we'll move forward. But I don't want to tie their hands if there's a good faith effort on the part of the landowner. To your point, I agree there should be a timeline or a limit, but I don't want to say what that limit is publicly. I want to entrust the people that are, for lack of a better word, the experts, and trust their decision
You
of
want to
when to
give them
move.
an opportunity to negotiate.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't sound like he's stepped up, so.
Well,
This person has recently, as of probably yesterday, submitted a new plan for the building official to look at. So we're going to start there.
and this is one of those things where the hope is that this very action might lead us to the point where we don't need a timeline, because they think, wow, you know what, pretty soon we're going to have to pay an attorney on top of an engineer
Right,
to
right.
figure out what to do with this building, and so that's really what we're asking for. Is that-
So would it be unfair to ask for an update in 30 days?
No, we could, yeah, we can, and a lot of times that update doesn't have to be at a public meeting, it can be an email correspondence, and it doesn't have to be 30 days. You could say like, I wonder what the heck's going on, you can always ask
Yep,
for that, and
yeah.
say, hey, what's going on? Or have a conversation with either the attorney or the building official, or myself. Okay, all right, any other discussion regarding this motion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, we've got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Mr. Badkins to authorize circuit court action for the building at 35922 Jefferson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. All right, next is item E2, and this one is definitely unique. So regarding an easement agreement, board members, we've been working on securing various easements needed to construct the pedestrian bridge and the multi-use paths at Jefferson over the spillway. This project, when completed, will have a 10-foot wide path going from the corner of Ballard and Jefferson all the way. It'll connect to all of the 10, basically, you're going to have a 10-foot path all the way to, I think it's Middle School South. Beyond Middle School South, I believe, but certainly to Middle School South. Some of that currently is sidewalk in front of some of the condos just south of the spillway.
So the sidewalk will be replaced with a 10-foot path.
Correct. But because of some of the rules associated with sidewalks versus paths, and maybe, a sidewalk, like there's rules for a sidewalk. A sidewalk can stop, turn 90 degrees in some places, right? But if you're on a bike, we understand that you kind of have to have the ability to curve. And so we've gotten into some easements. There's one final easement. It's probably the most significant easement that we need on the parcel between the senior center and Jefferson. So if you think of the front, if you think of being at the senior center, if you walked right out the back door of the senior center, started walking toward Jefferson, at some point, you're going to encounter a parcel that's not ours. It's, I don't know, 2 acres plus or minus. So there's a drain that's parallel to Jefferson, and all of the people that are advising us say that it's very difficult to cover or enclose that drain. So what we really want to do is that path is going to be coming down the spillway. It's going to split, and one part of that path is going to curve toward Ballard and run across the front of the parcel, some of which is our land, but a majority of which is their land, this property owner. Or you can turn the other way, and you're going to have the opportunity to go across the street. You can go to the park there and so forth, or go over the bridge, obviously, and continue south. So we own a 90-foot strip between the edge of the spillway and the edge of this parcel. I'm going to reference this document. If you kind of see that the attachment, I feel like that's probably the clearest. So it says potential land swap, approximately 12,782 square feet. So there's a 90-foot strip of land there that's kind of like a little leg coming off of Tucker Park. How it happened to be there, I don't know. Obviously, it was way before any of us were around, but it really doesn't have a significant value to the township. We couldn't put a road there and dump out a driveway right at the foot of a bridge where people are coming over at 40 miles an hour. So it doesn't have a lot of value to us. And so really what we're saying is we want to eat up the front of your property with taking over a little 2,875.72 square feet with an easement so that we avoid that drain. But in exchange for that, I believe we're making this parcel, this privately owned parcel, more valuable by giving this 12,000 square feet. That could be used for maybe stormwater, detention, or something so that the rest of the lot could be fully developed. So we're saying, hey, if you give us 2,800 square feet, we'll give you 12,000 square feet. Some might say, well, that's too generous, but it doesn't benefit us to hold that land. And so we're really saying we're making the property's undeveloped. No one's bought it. So maybe adding this portion makes that property more valuable. The fact is, our ordinance says that if someone does develop this parcel, they would have to put that path in. So we're certainly not obviously compensating the landowner, but we're taking away one of those potential requirements for development. So, we've got a grant to do this work. Right? So we're going to put that path in. It's going to make that property even more valuable because someone who might have wanted to develop it said, I don't want to spend $150,000, $200,000 to put a path across the front. We're going to do it for you. So I believe what we're offering is a very fair and reasonable offer, and it costs us zero. It's really a piece of land that has more value to a landowner than it does to us. So we're encouraging development, and we're trying to be fair with saying, here's a way that you can improve your property. There are federal dollars associated with this project. Those federal dollars mean that this project is an MDOT project. It has to go through that state letting system, and there are a ton of requirements to satisfy MDOT. So we can't just go and call the guy. We've been working on this for over a year. We finally got to the point where we said, okay, we'll propose this. The owner of that parcel has agreed in principle. You're like, yep, that seems like a fair trade. What do we need to do next? Well, there's recording, there's land splits, there's all these other things associated with it. And so again, I'm asking for this board to authorize my office to get this done. Because it is, there are a lot of little steps along the way. I know that I just got a request for a title search on this. It's certainly within my spending limit. This is a $3.5 million project that's grant funded. The problem is that we've asked for extensions, and this one parcel has been difficult to wrap up. And so I'm starting to get a little nervous. I think we've got a deadline in September. And if the board is supportive of this, I'm asking for that permission to get this done, because there's a lot of little steps along the way. And again, this is recommended by our legal counsel, is recommended by the engineers on the project. we can't even spend this money, so we've got Macomb County personnel that are involved, and everyone along the way has felt that this is the best way to resolve this. And it costs us, other than the legal part of it, it costs us nothing.
Make a motion to authorize the supervisor to execute the land swap to secure an easement for the multi-use path at the northeast corner at Jefferson and the spillway.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, and a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Brado. As a lengthy discussion, but is there further discussion or questions?
Does the grant provide funds for easement acquisition?
Typically, no. So what they do is they provide, let me say this, there's several grants involved in this. The big one is a TAP grant, Transportation Alternatives Program. That's federal money, flows through SEMCOG to the county to allow this. I don't think TAP funds can be used for easement acquisition. There's a private grant. Typically, this is from the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation. Little over, I feel like it's I'm going to say like 1.09 million is what I'm sticking in my head. I hate to be cavalier about a very, very generous donation, but we've been talking about this a long time. Sometimes the private grants are a little more permissive on what it can be spent on. But as a general rule, the MDOT says you got to follow these rules. If we think about this, really what happened? Basically, somewhere in our past, some local municipality made a deal with maybe I'm going to say maybe a poorly informed individual and probably got a large piece of land for a relatively low price. And pretty soon someone's building an expressway across somebody's farm and they realize they were ripped off. So as a result of, just like the Open Meetings Act, as a result of probably some bad actors in our history, there's a ton of strings before you can get an easement. It's got to be really clear. We've spent, I'm going to tell you, again, I'm shooting for the hip, probably between $10,000 and $20,000 just on the appraisals for this parcel to be able to say this is how much it's worth to give it to somebody. So it's expensive as far as the process goes, but in terms of the cost, it falls on us.
We were at the park, Ralph C. Wilson Park in Detroit today.
Oh, awesome.
The new park.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, and that foundation has funded even some of the work that led up to this.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Where is the status of the bridge?
Well, and so the bridge is designed, it's engineered, everything's ready, we have all the permits, but you can't, the problem is you can't go to MDOT and say MDOT has a letting, Letting, a letting schedule. Like, okay, if you give us all the information on this date, like there's a monthly cycle that things go out. You can't go out to bid on this until you have all of your easements resolved. And that's what's holding us up is basically this last easement. So everything's designed, everything's like, we're ready to get a bid on this, but we can't because we don't have this last easement secured.
Absent this easement, the project doesn't go
It doesn't
through.
happen, right.
I will have to say, this is the single most important project that we have going on for our residents, safety on that bridge.
I totally agree.
This is the one item that people ask me about more than anything else that's going on in the township.
You go over that bridge, and you
if
see a
drive on your
little kid riding his bike, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is.
I want it for myself.
Yeah.
'Cause I walk my bike.
He said little kid, young guy.
I literally walk my bike across that bridge because I'm afraid to ride over it on a bike.
Yeah. And
Especially
this
in the
is,
summertime.
this is
Very,
like,
very
it's all come down to this easement, and my point is, like, I've already talked enough about it, but I could tell you about some of the roadblocks that we've run into, extremely frustrating. But it's like, we've resolved all those things, we finally have a verbal agreement with the landowner, and, oh, well, now we have to check 27 other boxes. And so I'm asking for the freedom to get that done. This is what the agreement will be. Clearly, if it's not this, it comes back before the board. But I believe this is what the land swap will be. And, I'm asking for permission to do exactly what's on this page. Okay? Any other discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion with support to authorize the supervisor to execute this agreement. As I presented, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next is item E3, and I believe that's coming from the clerk's office.
Yes, so thank you for adding this, board. If you remember last year, we approved up to $80,000 for scanning services. We started the focus of that project was on our large plats and drawings and prints for the water and sewer department, as well as some assessing records as well, and stuff in the clerk's office. And we were able to sort of streamline what we sent by deduplicating stuff, making sure it was in good condition for them to do, as well as I think the company just sort of overestimates what the cost is, so they don't have to go back to the client and be like, hey, we need more money. But as a result of those savings, we were able to identify and send over some additional records for water and sewer for scanning. We did send a large amount, probably 80 full-size banker boxes full of documents, essentially their entire physical documentation that remains in the township offices. We're almost done, but the company said we need about, they said just shy of $9,000 to get the project done. I'm asking the board for $10,000 just in the event that they're off. In our experience, that hasn't been the case, but I'd rather have a little bit of wiggle room.
But they're definitely more educated on that estimate today based on their work.
Absolutely, but I just,
Yeah, play it safe.
play it a little safe, so I'm just asking for an additional $10,000 to complete the
Up
water
to.
and sewer, to complete the water and sewer portion of the scanning. I sent out the quote for the work earlier, it sort of lays down exactly what they're doing, and again, to the supervisor's point, they have a very good understanding of what's in those files. So I expect you guys to be supportive of this, and if you are, it's probably not the last time we're going to talk about scanning. As we go through, we're probably going to be working on getting some pricing for our assessing records and then our building department records. Despite, that people have been working on it, it's just, you're eating an elephant one bite at a time while you're adding more to the elephant on the other side. So we're going to work on that. We'll probably be talking again in the next couple of months here.
Yeah, right now, we have 3 large portions of our offices consumed by a set of rolling files, right? So you can kind of roll them all together, look at this one, you can pack all this together, go into these. The goal is for us to not take those into the building and instead have them digitized. And I will tell you, it's a nuisance, but when these things are digitized and you just, whoop, and pretty soon you're like, wow. It's probably not good for our daily steps, but it's definitely good for getting that access. And it kind of ties in a little bit back to what we talked about earlier with having those laptops in the field and almost saying, oh, no, I pulled a permit for that. When you can access all of those permits from that laptop, you can solve that problem in the field a lot quicker. This is obviously water and sewer, but even this.
Oh, we
Yeah.
scan the line drawings for every single water main and sewer lead in the
Right.
township.
So currently what happens, we've got a water main break and someone says, okay, well, what's that look like? Somebody is coming in here, let's say it's on a Sunday at, 8:00 at night, they're on call, they're going into the office, they look up that document and they pull up that piece of paper that are the notes from when the inspector originally installed a sewer lead there, and they know what's there. With this, I've got an electronic device in the field, I can look this stuff up, so over the long run, this will actually probably, I hate to say pay for itself, but eventually it will.
I mean, just if you look at the building project, we can cut down on square footage for, that type of use and use it in a much more
Or
efficient
yes,
way.
have less square footage that we're
Right.
paying for when we upgrade our facilities. So with all of that, any questions, or is there a motion to approve up to 10 grand?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Batkins with support by Ms. Rabeau to approve this expense. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next on our agenda is public comments. I will let the public know that after that, we do have a closed session to discuss a written legal opinion from our attorney. So we will be going into closed session, but as our past practice, we typically open up the floor for public comments. So in case someone wanted to speak, they don't have to wait until after the closed session. So we'll open the floor for public comments at this time.
C. William Bardell, 30-year resident, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door, clean up, fix up, people helping people. Just want to remind everyone, it's a little bit of reading material for you on Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook. It's kind of a slog. It's a marathon and just fighting the battle every day. And some things are getting done and 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and little bit of reading material there for you. So enjoy your evening. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. If there's no further public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. And at this point, I'd be looking for a motion to enter into closed session to discuss attorney's written legal opinion.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we've got motion by Mr. Olgiati, support by Ms. Rabot to enter into closed session. Discussion on the motion, board members. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Ms. Rabot?
Yes.
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. We'll take a brief recess to,
I can close it. I'm right here.
we have the sign. Okay. Be looking for a motion to enter back into open session at 8:28 PM.
I'll make that motion.
Support. All right. Open, Ryan Badkins with support by Mr. Olgiati. All right, discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Backens?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Ms. Rabot?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello is excused. Mr. Witt? Yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. All right, I'm going to look to the attorney. We discussed and contemplated a potential motion. Would you offer a potential motion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. The Township Attorney's Office is requesting authorization to file a circuit court action to enforce zoning ordinance violations at Boattown Marina.
All right, is there someone willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
I'll support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Badkins, with support by Ms. Rabot to move forward with circuit court action at the aforementioned property. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. I know there was a question about what's happening with the cleanup along the shoreline, so some of you may know that there was $800 incorporated, I think last October. 800,000, what did I say?
$800.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you know what, 1,000 here, 1,000 there. Yeah, $800,000 that the state of Michigan appropriated to address microcera woolli, basically the algae, that's filamentous algae that's washing up on the shore. So we're very fortunate, once again, that our Public Works Commissioner from Macomb County took the lead on this. You know, some might say, well, is that really a function of the Public Works Office? But we're fortunate because we're dealing with someone who's pretty, definitely, she has the staff to be able to deal with this. She's got staff members that are, engineering. There's some, like biology, some science that goes along with the rest of this. So seemed to be the best fit. And so they looked at a couple different sites. I think they identified 13 total sites. They went out for bid, solicited bids, analyzed those bids, and then brought them back to kind of like a panel, if you will. There were representatives from the state representative that helped fund it, the state senator that helped fund it. There were folks there from Harrison Township, myself, I represented the township, from St. Clair Shores, and we looked at all the different things. Public Works proposed us, kind of like, here's what we suggest. They identified 3 sites. One is Campow Bay. For some folks that may not know, Campow Bay is basically that northeast corner of Jefferson and Lakeshore. They're going to do removal of the debris in that area as well as removal of some of the M. walleye that's on the lake bottom. We can't remove all of it, but the hope is that we're gonna try some different things and see how quickly does it come back, like how can we manage it? The second site that was identified was, and I apologize, I probably should have pulled it up, but one of the parks in St. Clair Shores.
Veterans.
I thought it was Veterans, yeah, but somebody mentioned the other one, and I'm like, oh gosh, maybe it was that one, but I thought it was Veterans. And then the third site was the Hidden Cove Condominium Association. They ultimately chose, they recommended, and everyone unanimously supported, awarding the bids based on the low bid. Dean Marine is doing some of the large-scale removal of debris, and SLAM, SLAM, Aquatic Management, I don't remember. But another contractor proposed doing some additional cleanups as well as kind of like, what happens if we were physically remove this from the lake bottom? How quickly does it come back? I also drafted a letter because I feel like parallel to this, during this meeting, I made a suggestion. I said, what if we take, I forget I could look it up, but I want to say like, I don't know, 100 by 100 is a quarter of an acre. So I said, why can't we go out to the lake bottom in the bay where this stuff is, the stuff can grow once it leaves the lake bottom, but it's kind of like fields, if you will, of this material that have established themselves on the lake bottom that are growing, knocking loose during, it seems like a winter cycle, and then washing up on the shore during that spring cycle. Why can't we, this same algae was causing a major problem in a large reservoir in Alabama. And obviously, like, Alabama is a part of that. They have different state laws than Michigan. But in Alabama, they established a treatment protocol using, it was a, let's see, witch hazel, what the heck is it? What's the, hydrogen peroxide, and I think it was copper sulfate. And they were successful. They tested the soils afterwards. There was not a residual. They were looking for, is this affecting some of the things? Like they're doing it today. They continue to do that. So I said, why can't we take 4 quarter-acre plots in the middle of the lake, just, maybe drop some things that you can scan, and, it doesn't have to be like a buoy sticking out of the water, and treat them. Like, the lake is, I don't know, 25,000 acres. We can play with quarter acre at a time and just see, like, let's do that at the same time, because if we don't get rid of it on the bottom, it's going to continue to wash up on the shore. So, point is we're trying to attack this from as many angles as possible. $800,000 is a lot of money, but when you're talking about 13 sites, it's not a lot of money. And no matter what site you choose, someone's going to say, well, why didn't you choose this other site? So we met, we talked about it, everybody agreed, we all agreed we'll sign the document, and we're taking some action, recognizing that we're beginning, and I truly believe this is not a county issue. This is a state and federal issue. This will change the ecology of Lake St. Clair, and, this is going to require 7 figures. You don't get 7 figures locally, you get 7 figures from the feds or maybe the state.
It's an international problem.
It's an international, frankly, yeah, but it is definitely, the point is that it's like when we were talking about changing the clear zone at Selfridge. I was involved in multiple conversations where we were going to try to acquire land. And I kept saying, this isn't, like, you're going to the smallest fish in the sea and asking for help. I'll help you all I want, but we got to get those big fish. They can write the, $100 million checks at the federal and state level to get that airstrip relocated. I kind of feel like we're in the same fight. I don't know if fight's the right word, but we're in that same stage managing this Microcera walleye. We've got to show some effort on our part, and we've got to take it back to our big brothers and big sisters and say, please help us fix this problem. Because left unchecked, it'll change the ecology of Lake St. Clair. So, thank you. Yep. All right, any other discussion, or is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Ms. Rabot to adjourn. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries, meeting adjourned.